The theme is truth. Honesty of all things is the purest form of deception. It is something that many of us try to attain, but as soon as words leave our synapses, they turn to lies. Honesty would be to keep quiet. True truth is when we don't speak, when we let the emotion and thought wash over us, zap through our brain canals, and maybe even move our tongue but never vibrate our gullet. I've heard many speak the false truths. I love you. I'll be there for you. I'll be hanging out with a friend. But half-truths are no truths. True honesty is full and cannot be divided into equal parts. So what the fuck, man? You say that you're interested in someone and you never tell that it's someone you shouldn't be interested in. What the fuck, man? You know better, but you continue the affair. You continue the lies, and you continue to not see the difference between conflict and just deception. We're in a postmodern apocalyptic time, where society ceased to exist because people were no longer required to make sense. We walk down a single road. I've seen it before. It's grimy and smells like coffee and shit. We stop at a local bar. The scent turns to beer, and the noise is a cacophony of laughter and sorrow. I instantly spot 5 girls I'd like to fuck and go over to the bar and order a bud. That's 5, says the bartender. I hand him a 20. He breaks it. I give him a $2 tip and walk through the crowd. I know that if someone really looked, they would spot who didn't belong, like a Where's Waldo picture. I never know where to stand, I think, when the truth is that I never know where to stand where I could blend. And movies can be a good escape if they mirror the internal struggle because, once again, the only true self-conflicts are the ones unspoken. But movies are nothing but someone else's feelings, flickering through shades of colors, pixel to pixel, moving along as if they really want to exist that bad. A video game is only this, except I move the pixels. A dream is a pixelless video game. A dream is the closest thing to me playing me. I am a pixelless video game. If I were to hunt, it would be an imaginary animal inside of my brain, and the game would ultimately end up being me, because I am everything in my dreams. Unless it's true that dreams exist when we're awake, and if that's the case, then there really is no difference at all between this world and that, so I might as well be dreaming there when I'm awake. When did it last happen that I fell for someone? Well, I'd say about 5 years ago, and before that I'd say 3 years, and before that I'd say 2 years, and before that I'd say 1, and before that 8 months, and before that 5 months, and before that 3 months, and before that 2 months, and before that 1 month, and before that 1 week, before that 5 days, before that 3, before that 2, before that 1, and when I was a child I'd fall for someone new every passing hour, minute, second. But now that buzzing in my ear won't quit. My body clenches and my heart skips beat after beat, and I wonder when it will stop. You see, I've always known that I will die young. I don't know how or when it will happen. I don't know how or why I know, but it's soon. The day will come soon when I won't exist anywhere. The day will come soon when I'll really no longer be able to speak at all. I feel the earth rejecting me as an immune system fights a germ. Except this disease won't spread, and I've already been isolated from the rest of the body. It's only a matter of time when someone says, there once was something like a man here. He is gone now. He was here once before, and you won't see him, hear him, feel him, if that was anything you ever really did to begin with. But the words go onwards and outwards, and I can't contain the lies I need to tell anymore. The truth is that the lies are my only way to the truth. For how can you ever understand something without exploring its opposite? True story. A man stood on the subway today. An old man stood on the subway today. A homeless man stood on the subway today, holding out his elongated brown, black, blue fingernails, staring at them in awe. I stared as well, repulsed and amazed. There is beauty in this man, but we can't touch him, we can't help him, and we'd rather he didn't ruin our morning coffee. It's been a long time since I've been a we. People think I'm one of them, or one of many, or people don't really think at all. The truth is I am. The truth is to think. The truth is that no one's ever blamed you for lying in your sleep. And they laugh out there, and they scream out there, and they die out there, and they dream out there, and I can somehow see it. I somehow know them. I'm the muse. I'm the wind. I'm the nothingness. The coldness that slips through your pores like liquid nitrogen, stiffening your muscles and lulling you to rest. No motion can resist my arrest. And there are those that have loved me, and those that I've loved. But now I'm surrounded by dust. The sky still shines when I sleep. The moon still watches where I once strolled on the side of a highway with my best friend in the car driving beside me, knowing that I needed to run and see and roll around for a while. But he's not here now either, so why am I? The truth is that nothing really matters. The truth is that which is silent. The truth is. So, that was a poem that I wrote back in September 8th, 2012. It's in my book, Let's Go for a Walk, by me, Jonathan Trillin. You can find this on Amazon if you search for my name or for this book title, or both. And yeah, so Dominic and I are maybe going to start a new series here where we start off where I read one of my poems, and then he and I talk about it, and Dom can give his input here as well. So I wrote that during a time when I hadn't written poetry in like 5 years. And or maybe I was writing, but I hadn't done an open mic in 5 years. And I don't remember what the characters were in that poem, or how many characters were in it, but I was told that, like, oh, you should, if you can't write, just, like, say, like, okay, I'm going to write up to, like, 1,400 characters, you know? And so I just kept writing, and that's why, like, I don't really like that poem as much, because it was just a way for me to get writing again, and it doesn't all kind of go together, and I feel like I've also just kind of improved since then of how to articulate a thought. But yeah, that's why it feels a bit disjointed. That's the word I'm looking for. And yeah, that was my writing 6 years ago. But I don't know, Dom, what do you think about that poem? Your couch goes, woo.
Because I gotta back it up into the couch. Gotta give me a woo.
Woo. Are you recording?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so I'm here now. So that's one of the things I liked about that poem. Is that it was like, yeah, it's like a million different stories in one, but they all somehow come together. I feel like you made it fit well.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
You wrote each part and then like stuck it together, or how did that go?
No, I wrote it like I write most of my poems, where I just write it all out at once. So I'll just like do like a free write, and then I go back and I'll move certain spots and maybe take out some words or make some grammatical corrections. Typically it takes me about like an hour to write a poem, just because like the quickest part is just writing it all out, but then going back but typically I don't touch things after that hour. That's kind of my personal style.
No re-editing.
Because
it comes out like the truest form of what it's supposed to be, you know?
Right. And that's what was kind of interesting about when I put together this book, that I told you that I realized when I was putting together the book, originally I thought I would be deciding on what order it should be in, or taking out more poems that I had written throughout the years. I only didn't put in like 2 or 3 poems, I think. But I kept it in this order because I realized that it was kind of telling a story.
Yeah.
And there were themes that I didn't realize at the time I was going back to. And it's really interesting that the first poem is called The Theme is Truth. And that seemed to be, this is over a period of about 3 years. And that seemed to be a common theme in my poetry of kind of searching for truth and honesty.
Yeah.
And that's what I told myself when, like, I was going back to doing poetry. That I said to myself, if I'm going to do this, I have to be honest. Like, it's not going to work if I'm trying to make something sound good or...
You were saying that in here, right?
I say that in some of my
like
poems. I don't know if it's that one.
Fitting into something.
Yeah, well, that was a common theme, too, that this was when I first moved to the city.
Yeah, it sounded like that. It sounded like, this is the city.
Yeah. And
it smells bad here.
It smells bad. It smells like coffee and shit sometimes. There was this one Starbucks that I used to walk past near where I worked every day. And it would have that distinct smell of coffee and shit. Yeah.
The exhaust from the kitchen and the bathroom forming one thing.
And I didn't have any friends here yet. You know, it's just, when you first move out to the big city, like, even though I'm just from Long Island, I'm not that far away.
Yeah.
Like, but it's massively lonely, you know?
Yeah.
And nobody gives a shit about you or what you have to say.
And
so, like, I remember when I first read this poem at an open mic, and I even invited the people that I worked with, you know,
to go,
and nobody came. Wow. And so
screw those people.
I was I was just so nervous, you know. I was just so nervous because I was reading to a crowd of people that I didn't know anybody. And it was weird because I'm one of the few people, I guess, that never had a fear of public speaking. I like that.
Yeah.
And this was like the first time where I remember getting like halfway through the poem and feeling like I just want to stop. I just want to stop and walk off the stage.
Yeah, yeah.
But I didn't. And I think I only got better since then. But yeah, it was just a lot about feeling alone. And realizing, like, I feel like I touch upon this in other poems too, but that language is so limited. And that's what I mean, like, you have a truth in your head or something that you want to express.
Yeah. And
it's like pure form. And then as soon as you try to articulate it and put it into words, it loses something.
Well, it's also you're trying to articulate it to whoever's going to receive it and think about how they're going to receive it.
Yeah. And
it's not like what you intended it to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So it's a lot
of that's you know me, like, I don't care. I'll just say whatever. And like if something goes wrong afterwards, I'm like, all right, sorry. Like, I didn't mean it that way because I wasn't thinking. Right. But then, like, if you're thinking that hard about what you're saying and people still get upset anyway, you know.
It's just I find it very difficult. It's interesting because the biggest response, the most common response I get to my poetry is people say, like, it's so raw. That's like the word that I
like. But fixate. You don't make it perfect. It is what it is.
Because that's what I'm trying to communicate.
That's what I always like about it. Like, whenever you read your stuff, I'm like, yep, that sounds like a conversation. It sounds like how you think. It sounds like how things are supposed to go. One, like, someone who's, like, totally edited the hell out of something or, like, refined it in such a way, like, you have to stop and, like, try to figure out what it is, you know? Your stuff is like, okay, that's one thought, and it, like, leads you into where it's gotta go.
And yeah, I try, like, I don't think about a structure when I'm writing a poem. And that's when it's always most interesting or funny to me when, like, something does end up rhyming or something like that. Because I won't realize it when I'm writing it. And then when I read it back, I'm like, oh, that actually rhymes. So, yeah, I guess I'll just keep that that, you know. I'm also, like, very much influenced, I feel like, when I was in college and learning more about poetry. I really liked Walt Whitman.
Yeah.
And he was apparently known in his poetry for just kind of making lists at certain points.
Yeah, like listing things.
Yeah, and so, like, that's what I'll be like, it'll just be like sort of a hypnotic kind of list or sound or...
When you fell for something?
Yeah, kind of like, you know, before that 1 and before that 2 and before that 3, and it's just like... But then I have it lead up to something.
You have a lot of and.
Yeah. And so, like, I'll notice patterns.
I love that kind of stuff. Like, when it's like one thought that you can't contain in one sentence, but it needs to be in one sentence. So it's like a paragraph worth of a sentence. Because that's how people talk. Like, people don't talk like grammar.
Right.
You know, people don't talk like how books are. Like, maybe you can. Maybe somebody will figure it out. But, like, supposedly you can only put as so many commas and so many ands in one sentence.
Yeah, the biggest things that I still don't completely understand are commas and semicolons.
You know how I text. I don't text with any periods, so you just got to figure out where it's supposed to stop.
But you text like you talk. Everything's
everything's kind of like
that.
Everything's just straight. Figure out where the pauses are, because I don't even pause when I'm speaking. It just goes into each other forever. So let's get into the nitty gritty of this.
Sure.
So we're talking about the poetry side of it and the writing side of it, but I want to get into what the hell it's about.
All right.
Truth, justice,
the American
way. How New York smells like ass. So there's a couple of spots.
Sure.
The first part. Are you talking about, like, actual girls? Like, because you go back to that a couple of times. Like, you don't have love, or someone, like, did you wrong. Is that, like, an actual person? Because I've felt these things where it's like, are you really there? Like, are you lying to my face? Like, are you actually being who you are? Or are you showing me what you want me to perceive you as? You know?
Let me actually read, because, like, I wrote a pretty good foreword to this book that kind of explains
who it is.
Well, it kind of explains, like, how my poetry works. So, like, it's just a paragraph. So let me just read you this. Kind of answer the question, I think. So I say, the enclosed work is both fiction and nonfiction, since I sometimes find fiction to be more true than actual events. Therefore, if you believe that one of my poems might be about you, then you are probably correct and false at the same time. The format will detail my mental and emotional state from 2012 through 2015. It is a story of self-reflection, loneliness, and getting over a girl. As you read, I advise that you envision us walking down a dimly lit city street at midnight, since that is the environment in which these thoughts, feelings, and stories are best discussed. So let's go for a walk, and that's the name of the book. But yeah, it's just kind of like...
The next one's got to be, let's sit in a diner and talk for 6 hours.
That's not bad, actually. Let's go to Bel Air.
Yeah, let's go to Bel Air. You know, me and Audrey brought up Bel Air like 100 times in that last video we did, so I'm just going to look for like a Bel Air sponsorship or something.
Bel Air Diner. Place to eat.
Place to eat and sit and chat until whenever o'clock. So yeah, that sort of answers that question.
Yeah, that it's kind of like a multitude of things combined.
The thing I like about this one is that you sort of go between two different realms. Like, you're like describing what's around you, and then you're describing like what you're thinking about, and like what is thinking about what you're thinking about.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that. At one of Audrey's open mic things, a girl there, her name is Brianna. I think it was Brianna who said this. She said to me that it's like you start off with your poetry as like you start off with something concrete, and then it gets to like this really philosophical, abstract realm, and she's like, you just. Like, how did you even get there? Like, you don't even know where you are. I didn't realize that until people, like, had started telling me that. But, yeah, I think that that's true. Again, like, I think that's just how my mind works. Like, I'll start thinking about something that just happened, and then my mind goes to, like, this abstract, philosophical, weird place.
Yeah.
And then when I'm writing it, I think I try to, like, bring it back, though. Like... end in something more concrete.
Something like real.
Yeah.
The truth is that nothing really matters. So why did you even read this?
I guess I'm quoting Queen there. I don't know.
Nothing really
Bohemian Rhapsody.
The truth is...
Yeah, and I just end it with an ellipsis.
That's dope.
Dot, because the truth is silence, you know? Just being quiet. But going back to, like, your question about like towards like the beginning of it, I talk about like this what the fuck man, you're interested in someone. I knew a couple of people at that time, a couple of guys actually that were cheating on their women, and I was upset about that. You know, I was disillusioned by it too, especially when it's like men that you like admire and thought like, oh, like I want to be like that person. And you find out that they're fucking liars and they're lying to people that they say that they love. You know, and that was really messing with my head. And, like, that's the thing. Like, they would talk to me about it. Like, this is a conflict for them. I'm like, no, you're just being an asshole. Like, this isn't a conflict. You're just deceiving people. Yeah. This isn't about you.
They're trying to be all like, I'm a complex human being. I can exist on two different realms at once. Yeah, but like, then those two different realms are conflicting with each other. Like,
it's like, woe is me that I'm cheating on my girlfriend.
You can't be both. You can't be like, oh yeah, I'll do anything for my girl, but I'm gonna cheat on her inside. But that doesn't have anything to do with I'll do anything for her. Like, how do those two things exist? Like, that's so, it does exist, you know, but it should not exist.
Like, I remember talking to one guy that he's one of those guys that whenever you would walk around with him, he'd be like calling women and shit. Like, made me super uncomfortable. And like, I knew that he was in a serious relationship too. And I remember he was doing this shit, and I even asked him at one point, I'm like, are you like in an open relationship with your girl? And he got insulted. He's like, no, why would you ask me that? Maybe because like every girl that passed by, you're like, look at that ass. like, maybe you should be in an open relationship then. Like, you obviously don't want to be.
It's just, I'm just looking, man.
I hate that. So, like, I was just very frustrated with that. And so that's why that part of the poem is there. Yeah. But, I don't know. I didn't like I don't like now the way I wrote it because I feel like it was a little bit too abstract. But, yeah. Everyone's their own worst critic.
It's like most guys that do that are dicks, and I hate them.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what that line says. So let's see, what's the next one? The bartender scene. Then you get into the movies.
Yeah.
And I like that. The pixel. That's the one part I wanted to go into. Okay. The movie part, video game part, and A Dream is a Pixelless video game. That was awesome. I'm a pixelless video game.
Yeah.
I'm a pixelless video game.
Oh, I remember, like, at the time I was thinking, it's like, well, when you're looking at a screen, like, what are you actually looking at? Like, if you guys are watching this video, you're not actually looking at me and Dom. You're looking at a bunch of pixels on the screen.
Ghost pixels. I don't know.
You're looking at ghost pixels. Yeah. You know?
Go back to like olden days where I was like, oh, it's stealing my soul. It's stealing my essence.
But that's interesting to me. It's just like, and I kind of wrote this line, it's like they're moving around like they want to exist that bad. Yeah. It's like they're kind of making the image of a person, but they're not a person. Yeah. There's something kind of creepy about that to me.
A bunch of like squares.
And then like thinking about, well, in a video game, it's like a movie, but you're also moving the pixels. Yeah. Which is weird. It's like you're moving the form of a human or a character, but it's not actually anything. It's just little circles of light or whatever. Yeah. And then, like, a dream, nobody even really still knows exactly what a dream is. Like, or even what, like, a visual thought is. Like, if I say, remember, just think about your childhood house, you'll have an image in your head. And, like, as far as when I last looked, scientists still don't really know how you do that. How do you see something that's not there? Yeah. And, so it's like, that's a pixelless video game. Because, like, it's similar in concept because it's something not there. It's abstract. But and taking form of something that is or it's was just real.
Like in the blackness of your mind, like some image that you never see, but you see it. I never thought of that.
And people don't really know what makes that up exactly. No, they don't know. And so it's like, so that's kind of what I am, like an abstraction of something. or those are where my thoughts are. They're abstraction of things that either exist or once did exist, and nobody really knows what it is.
Yeah.
And there's something interesting and kind of creepy about that to me.
Yeah. That's crazy. I never thought about that. Like, how do you see what you're not actually seeing? Like, you're just remembering. Oh my god. Oh my god. This is actually something that happened to me the other day on the bus. So I was sitting on the bus. I was like half asleep. You know when you like fall half asleep and your eyes are still sort of open? But like, I went to some other like. I was me and I was thinking about something and I was like playing it out in my head.
Like
a
half dream.
Yeah, I was like doing something in my head and it was all making sense. And like when I woke up, I was still sort of half in it. And I was still like doing whatever I was doing in my dream. But then I woke up and I remembered, I was like, wait, I'm on the bus. And then I was like, wait, but I was also there doing that. So I was like sort of caught in between both things, like doing what I was doing in my dream and also being on the bus.
Can I ask what you were doing in your dream?
I don't remember. That's the thing I was gonna get to. Like as soon as I like snapped back to the bus, it just like disappeared. But like right before I snapped back into it, it was so like vivid that I was like, that's what I was doing. Sort of like how you were saying, like with a dream.
Yeah.
Like I was in that thing. I was doing nothing. I was literally sitting in the bus doing nothing, but I was also doing something. Like, there was a series of events I had. Like, I was like, okay, I'm doing this. I gotta go there. Right. I remember that I was doing something, but I don't remember what I was doing. Because as soon as I, like, woke up and I was on the bus, it was completely gone. And I was like, what was that? It was so weird. And then you know how you have different sorts of dreams. Like, you have the dreams that you're passive and you're just, like, watching something.
Yeah.
And then you have the ones like where you're actually in it. And it's like that same sort of moment. Like once you wake up, like you sort of still have some sort of control or some sort of memory of what's happening. But then like whenever I have those sort of dreams and I wake up, it's like totally gone. It disappears. Because I know you said you had some crazy sort of dreams.
Well, yeah. But I think I've told you this before. But I think the best idea of what dreams, the idea that makes the most sense to me of what dreams are that when you're sleeping, there's different compartments of your brain. I don't remember them all now, obviously, but like
this is John's totally like straight-laced like office man interpretation of what dreams are. There's no
no, there are, like, I read about these
the
theories.
Otherworldly sort of stuff. Are you gonna get into that?
Well, this is the explanation that makes the most sense to me. Of just like
John likes the office work sort of stuff. I don't know.
There's different compartments to your brain, and when you sleep, why some scientists believe we need to sleep is your brain kind of organizes the things that have happened during the day into its correct spots.
So like defrag.
I've said it's like defragmenting your hard drive.
I used to love watching.
Yeah,
that.
like that. That's like
all the colors. Like
that's what it feels like. So it's like, and they think that what a dream is when you're in that certain like REM sleep or whatever stage of sleep.
Yeah.
Your brain's like your consciousness part of your brain is trying to make sense of what's happening. So that's why you end up dreaming about things that you've been thinking about or experiencing through your waking day, because your brain is trying to organize everything. And then when you're dreaming, it's like your consciousness part of your brain being like, well, what's happening right now? So it'll try to like piece together some sort of logic to it. So that makes the most sense to me.
Yeah.
But then, like, I've talked to you about and I've written about in some of my poems, too. Just, like, I've had, like, dreams that were so vivid but so otherworldly that it feels like, was I, like, in an alternate dimension or something?
Like, you can't relate anything that happened to anything that you've experienced?
Well, there would be, like, bits and pieces of reality to it, but... You know, like, something that always gets me, too, is when I think about when you dream that you've had, like, a conversation with somebody, or people were talking, or, like, Like,
and like it actually happens.
No, like when I talk, no, that's another thing. But like
deja vu,
or like when I've had dreams where like there's crowds of people and like I'm seeing them, and sometimes when I wake up I'll even remember what they looked like.
Yeah.
And then I'll realize like that was all me though. It didn't feel like me. It felt like an other. It felt like I didn't think to say that.
Yeah, that's exactly what was
So
happening.
like somebody was saying it to me. So where does that come from? You know? Like I don't know if I don't think I put this into a poem. But like I could state an example of a dream I had years ago, right?
Yeah.
So, I had this dream, I don't know, maybe a year or so after my grandmother passed away. And I dreamt that I was at my grandparents' house. And, I was at the front door. And my grandmother opens the door. And she says, "Oh, come in." And she said, like, she used to make her own clothes. She was, like, kind of a seamstress, you know?
Yeah.
And she said, "I made this new outfit. I'd like to show it to you. Let me know what you think." And so I followed her into, their bedroom. And all of a sudden, she transformed into like this young woman, not my grandmother at all. My grandmother was blonde. This woman had dark hair. My grandmother was very fair skinned like me, and this woman was tan. And I could see her like back. Like I think she was topless, and she had scars on her back, like looking like wings that were torn off, like a fallen angel. And she told me something like that she was some kind of spirit and that some evil spirits were chasing her, and she asked me if she could hide in my dream for a while.
Whew.
And I said okay. you know. And she said okay, like that she could go now, but before she goes, she wanted to give me one piece of advice, and she said you should take more comfort in your friends. And then she started to like disappear, and things started to get like all meddled, like when you're waking up from a dream. And then there was like an image that at the time I thought was supposed to symbolize her, of like I saw purple and like a bird on a windowsill, and for some reason I thought like that's supposed to symbolize this otherworldly creature that I just interacted with. I didn't know why.
Did you ever look that up?
I looked it up, but I couldn't find anything.
Purple window bird.
And yeah, but I've had other things like that, and it was just like so strangely specific. Like of like someone telling me, "Can I take sanctuary in your dream?" Like someone telling me I was dreaming and she needed to hide there.
Yeah. That's crazy.
I still get chills like thinking about stuff like that. Like
that's a lot.
Yeah.
How do you explain that?
I don't know. I mean, I guess you could say like, well, it's
a pixelless video game.
Yeah. Or that I think about a lot of these kinds of things. Like, I've always been interested in reading about science fiction and, like, otherworldly kind of things.
Yeah.
My sister and I, both from young ages, were, like, interested in kind of the dark side of human thought, exploring paranormal ideas and...
Paranormal stuff is cool.
Yeah, so maybe like that plays into it, but I've never read about something that hides in your dreams,
like that's like who would even think of that?
I don't know. Apparently I did, but I didn't feel like I thought of it. It's just weird.
Yeah. See, like usually when I dream, I don't even remember, because I know that I dream.
I was told by a friend of mine that he thinks that I remember my dreams more than most people. Another example that I had of that is another story. I hope it's interesting. I don't know. But
That was interesting.
Years ago, I had a dream that I was in some kind of museum. I don't know if I've told you this one yet.
I don't think so.
And everything in the museum was made of wood. Like, in the museum itself was made of wood. The floor, the walls, and like the sculptures and art in it were all made of wood. And I was walking around, and then I was walking past like this room, and I saw that there was one statue that wasn't made of wood and looked very real, like lifelike. And it was of a woman. And I went up to it, and then she started to come alive and spoke.
Yeah.
And she said, "My name is Pedonina. They used to write books about me."
That is
and
cool.
I woke up and I remembered the name, and I found like I spelled it out like on Google the way I thought it would be spelled, and apparently it was like I think it was like in Italian, pedonina could mean like step stool or something like that, like a word like and I'm like, well, isn't that an interesting metaphor of putting women on a pedestal?
Even your subconscious self.
But why did I know that?
Poet.
I told you, like, I took like Italian when I was like in 6th grade.
You were like, that's as you're like in 6th grade, pedonina.
But I don't know, or was that like some like goddess, ancient goddess telling me something?
Named after a stool, the goddess.
Or maybe that's where the words came from. I don't know.
Maybe she was.
But I couldn't find anything holy about it. But it was weird.
Yeah, that is really.
I don't know. So does this all come from me, and it's just organizing, defragmenting the hard drive, or does it come from an otherworldly place? I don't know.
Both.
Pixelless dreams.
Both.
Pixelless video games. Yeah.
Both.
Both?
Both.
Explain that. Do you mean that?
What?
What would that mean?
Who am I? Where am I?
What would that mean for it to be both?
If it's both real and not real?
Yeah, what does that mean?
I don't really know.
Well, we
were just talking
elaborate
about
on that.
How like things can conflict. It can mean nothing and something at the same time. Like maybe somewhere, you don't know what's out there.
So maybe like
pedonina means stool in Italian here, but somewhere else in
like
metaphysical,
another world.
Yeah, that means something else. Because words mean different things. I don't know. I like to think of things on different planes. Like, things can mean different things. This could be a cup and also a bowl.
Well, you do believe in more metaphysical things.
Yeah, totally.
Why?
Because there's not enough proof to say no.
Mm-hmm.
But there is proof to say yes. Like, the proof that it's no is, like, just because no, because it doesn't fit into the world that we created for ourselves.
Right, our scientific...
Even though, like, you go back to, like, native times, Aboriginal people, like, that's the stuff that they're talking about. And they don't have all this clutter of, like, the world, Like, that's more of a thing that's been there. Like, it's not just, like, oh, yeah, like, it's our culture. Like, people just come up with aliens because, like, it's been around. This person, that person knows about aliens. This person, that person knows about, like, ghosts. Like, it's just been around.
Right. So, like, maybe that's what you can be meaning by both. Of just, like, we've talked about this a little bit before off camera, of just whether you're a scientist or a religious zealot, like, you're generally seeing, it's, when you really, if you look at it from an objective viewpoint, both those people talk about the same things.
Exactly.
Like, one person might say, this is God, and another might say, this could have been an alien.
And someone else is going to say, both of those things don't exist, so what are you talking about?
Well, but even that person would say, it's thought. It's in your head.
Yeah.
Or it's science, or, like, there's a force, like, or nature, Mother Nature, It's all kind of talking about pretty much the same thing.
The universe.
Besides some details.
Exactly. So where should we go from here? Let's see. But that's the thing me and you talk about a lot. like the conflict between the way people think, you know. Because where I like to usually I like to deal with people who have like an open mind. Like there's a few people that, cause like if you believe in God or you believe in like the universe or something like that, like you get into very touchy territory. Like there's some people that are like, no, what you think is wrong, you're going straight to hell.
Yeah.
And there's other people
Well,
like, there's someone that literally told me that. Like, do you believe in God? I'm like, sort of. No, you have to believe this exact thing or you're going to hell. Like, good luck with that. Basically, that's how they left off. Or there's some people that are like, all right, yeah, I believe what I believe, and you believe what you believe, and we can talk about it, and it's okay. You know? Those people who are like, nope, no aliens, no nothing, this is how it is. Those kind of people, like, I don't know about them. Do you know about them?
I think it was Mark Maron that had on his stand-up years ago, just like, you know, he's an atheist, but he's like, I don't try to like convince people to be an atheist, like, because all right, now I've convinced you that God doesn't exist.
Yeah, exactly.
What does that do for you or me? You know, it's like,
it's just like,
if you're happy believing that is true, then why even?
Yeah, it's just like the sheer amount of things that there are to talk about. Like, just talk about something else. You know? Like, if you're talking to someone and you have so little in common and all of your beliefs conflict, sure, talk to somebody else. But if you have, like, that much, like, disagreeing and, like, you're trying to convince the other person, like, just forget about it.
Well, that's the thing. Like,
don't do that.
You know, it's funny because, like, I talk about my grandfather a lot, and he was kind of, you know, a second father to me and, you know, someone I really looked up to. But one thing that I did disagree with him with, and towards the later years, like, he started to come around to what I believe, which was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But he was like a strict atheist, and he would argue with people about that stuff.
Yeah.
And then I said to him, like, you know, I don't consider myself an atheist. I consider myself an agnostic because I think that atheism is just as rigid, saying that something definitely doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It just seems foolish, you know, that how the hell am I supposed to know? You know, like, how am I supposed to know what the universe is?
Yeah. There's no way.
But to me, it's just like, because he thought of religion as evil because, you know, most war was based off of religion.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, it wasn't religion. It's kind of like that South Park episode where Cartman goes to the future and the agnostics and atheists are fighting each other.
Oh my God.
Or something like, it was something like that.
Yeah.
Like, it's not religion that makes us fight, it's othering people. Like, saying that you're different, you're the other. And I agree with that. It's just like, if we could get to a point as a species that we could just see all of us, although we're different, as one species, then there would be less death and conflict.
But that's like totally what I was saying before. Like, that's one opinion and that's another opinion. Like, let it be. Like, all that conflict stems from, like, back in the day when, like, religion as, like, a thing, like, was used to control people. You know? Like, there's religion as a concept and as what you believe, but then there's also, like, the church. The church that controls people, and you have to answer to this guy or that guy and this person, and they tell you what is right and what is wrong, you know? Like, oh, you gotta go back to the church. Like, why can't I believe in what I believe in, like, over here, and not have to deal with the church? And yet I still follow those sort of beliefs.
So this is where my conflict comes in, that I feel like I started exploring in that poem, and I feel like maybe I still am. If, like, the search for truth, right?
Yeah.
I think I remember, too, like, the definition of philosophy was that, the search for truth.
Yeah.
But, right, so, like, I have, like, a saying, I don't know if I ever put this in a poem or not. It's kind of cheesy, but I feel like it's interesting, of just, like, beware of those that say they know, you know?
Yeah.
Because anyone says, I know this, I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
They're probably somewhat wrong, in my experience, you know?
Yeah.
Because, like you said, they're not open-minded at all.
Yeah.
But at the same point, if I'm searching for truth, what happens when I find it? You know, then wouldn't I say I know it now?
Yeah.
Or is that the point that the real truth is that you don't ever know the truth somehow? Or maybe it's the search for it. I don't even know what that means.
The truth is like, there's a word that I'm trying to use.
Like purity or...
No, the truth is like, depends on who's saying it. You know, it could be true to one person and not true to another person.
But is there an objective truth? Like, that's not...
For, like, everything?
Yeah, like the universe.
There's certain truths.
Like, are there?
Well, if you get into a metaphysical realm, like, what is real? What is reality? Is this a couch?
Right.
Like, are you here? Like, then no, of course not. Because everything is floating around like craziness or just particles that are sort of stuck together, maybe?
But that's where I get stuck sometimes. Like it's
if you go down into it, like no, you're just gonna lose your mind. We're gonna end up in the mental institution. This is gonna be the thing that the judge pulls out. You guys are nuts. Look at this.
Well, this is where my mind goes. Though, like let's say like,
but know that there's sort of like truths that are like truth. Like that is a glass.
Is it? Like that's the thing.
That's the thing. But but it is a glass. Like if it's made of glass, it's called a glass. Like. But if you go somewhere else, it's not going to be called a glass. And it's not going to be made out... You know what I mean? Like, term-wise, it's not going to be a glass. It's going to be whatever that language says it is.
Is it, though? Because, like, this is where
It's not! I just splashed John with his apple juice.
Or did you?
I didn't. Exactly, I didn't.
No, this is where I get stuck. It's like... So one part of me would be like, let's say I just bought this glass.
Yeah.
It'd be like, all right, well, where am I going to put the glass? You know, where am I going to store it? You know, do I like it? You know, all that stuff.
I like it.
But then I go deeper in the sense of just like, but what is a glass? And it's like, you know, it's made up of like, what, sand? Like blown together sand? And so isn't it just sand? And what's sand? Then like, does any of this exist? Am I just perceiving it as a glass?
Yeah.
Like, what does that mean? Like, does this glass look the same to other people? Does it feel the same to other people?
No.
Is this just my interpretation of a glass?
Yeah.
And this is where I get like all crazy and start like freaking out about it.
But it's not crazy. I like that feeling.
Yeah, but
okay, like if I come to you, John,
but it's impractical.
Look, if you want to know what's compelling, I'm into compelling. You know what's compelling? This is the glass here. What's compelling is this a glass? That's more compelling.
Yeah.
Like, to be able to, like, think about, what is this? How is this? Like, to me, that's more interesting. And that's why I sort of, like, decide to be more open-minded with my life. Because, like, other people, I don't know, I feel like maybe if you are more closed-minded, you can focus on certain things, like having a ton of money and careers and stuff more. But... then you're not open to stuff. And it's more fun to be open to stuff. Because, guess what? There could be aliens. That is interesting. If an alien comes and knocks on your door and you're like, you're not a thing.
I feel like what we're talking about actually is represented somewhat in the cover of my book. Because, like, so this is my friend Cal. He did the book cover. I'm also on the back. But, and it kind of does this cool thing where you can look at it like one big picture. But this was an actual mural. It doesn't exist anymore. That adds like an extra layer to this. But
that was the actual floor?
Yeah, this was the real floor. This is the mural that was on here.
That was a fake thing.
No. Wow. So, we kind of like this idea because like years before this, I was walking with Cal and we took a picture. I took a picture of him in front of the mural looking at it and like, oh, it looks like you're going to walk into the mural. Yeah. But, like, that's the thing. Like, so when I had to make a book cover, I'm like, we should recreate that. But, yeah, it's just like, this is real. This is not real because it's on a wall. It's a mural. But it looks like you could just walk right into it. I think that's, like, a representation of the way I think. It's like, we're in the material realm and we have to be there. And there's a practicality in it. Like, you have to walk your dog. Yeah. But... at any point, I feel like I could just walk into that mural and just be in, like, complete gone.
Yeah.
and metaphysical abstracts. And that's like my struggle in life. Like,
so this represents a thing that does not exist anymore.
Yeah.
And this represents a plane that is 3D, that is actually 2D in this picture.
Yeah, I love this cover.
It's like multi-dimensional book. And then you open it, and there's things, and there's this guy in the back with some green thing. What does it say?
That was like the name of the mural. I forget what it was called.
Someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Let's see. What else can I find? See, we're on one poem still.
Yeah, I don't know how much you want to...
one poem.
I don't know when you want to wrap this up.
When it wraps itself up.
Oh, shit.
Let's see, how much are we at? I think we're at... Can I math for a second? 30... I think we're around like an hour.
You want to wrap it up?
Yeah. So, in conclusion, the truth is... ... So, there's one other thing I wanted to, like...
Sure.
Say. The truth is I am.
Yeah.
The truth is to think. But are you?
I don't know. At that time, I felt like I am.
See?
Or I was.
See, man? Okay, this is the part I didn't totally get.
What?
I'm the muse. I'm the wind. I'm the nothingness.
Okay,
the coldness that slips through your pores like liquid nitrogen.
This is where I cringe at my writing from 6 years ago. Like, liquid. Who the fuck do you think you are?
Liquid snake? Liquid snake. That's what.
No, I felt this, and I've touched upon this in other poems, I think, too. Of just that. I feel like I personally haven't accomplished much in my life, but like I've been told by other people that I've inspired them to do things.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I'm like, I've had this thought years ago, obviously, just like maybe I'm like a muse. I'm just I feel like sometimes I'm put on this planet just to like help other people direct their lives.
Yeah.
You know?
I sort of feel that sometimes. Like, that's why I always try to, like, reach out to people to do stuff. Because I feel like I have no, like, crazy intentions for myself.
Yeah.
You know? Like, I don't have, like, oh, I need to do this, I need to do this. Like, I want to accomplish all these things, and I need people to help me. And I'm like, I want to help other people do stuff because that's more interesting for me. Or, like, I want to be the person that someone else will be like, oh, hey, this guy has, like, cameras and weird stuff to do podcasts with, you know?
Right. Like, sometimes I've...
Wink! Wink!
Sometimes I've had the thought of, like, after, like, I'm dead or something, like, somebody's gonna go back and be like, yo, all these famous people knew this one guy, you know, like, that nobody knew about until now.
Yeah, but then
there's that other part.
There's that other part where you're like, I'm gonna die...
I'm gonna die young.
Yeah.
Yeah, that we've never discussed that. Like,
I don't think so.
I don't know, from like a young age for some reason.
I sort of have that same feeling though, to be honest.
I've talked to other people that have that feeling too.
Yeah. It's just like, I don't know, you feel like...
I feel like I'm gonna die young. I don't know why.
It's just kind of like, whatever.
But when I think about it logically, it might have stemmed from that when I was...
Does it light a fire in your ass? In your ass? Under your ass?
Oh man, I don't know.
Quote of the day.
But when I was 7 years old, my babysitter, who my sister and I are very close to, she got hit by a drunk driver when she was 18, and she went into coma for a couple of months, and then she passed away. So I wonder if maybe that's how that came into my head. Yeah. That you could die young. Yeah. But I'm not really sure. That's just when I try to think about where that started.
I never like actually put it into words that I think that same thing. But maybe more people do. You're saying more people do, right?
I've talked to other people when I talk about it, because most people don't talk about death in general, that they feel that way about themselves too.
Mm-hmm.
And I think about like weird stuff that's happened in real life of like Richie Valens, you know, like he was terrified of planes.
Yeah.
And he had nightmares that he was going to die in an airplane, and he did.
Yeah.
You know, like weird shit like that has happened. But it doesn't put a fire under my ass. It just makes me feel like it makes me more nervous, honestly, of just like that I'm not. I think maybe part of where it stems from too is the feeling of I'm not going to accomplish in life everything I want to.
Yeah, I feel like that.
Or maybe I won't find my one true soulmate, or that I'll die before that stuff can happen. And I've known people that have died young. Besides, you know, I know a girl that I went to college with that committed suicide because she had a mental disorder. You know, like, it's sad, you know, and I hope it's not real. I hope it doesn't happen to me, but I think it's also partly that as I've gotten older even, it's hard to imagine what my future's going to be. Like, when you're in school, you know what's going to happen next year. And now it's like, I'm 33 years old, and if you ask me, what do you think you're going to be doing when you're 40? I have no idea.
Well, I feel like a lot of people take solace in the scripts that, like, society writes for you. So go to school, go to college, meet somebody, get married, get a dog, get a house, get a kid, get a car, have grandkids, you know? Like, that plot is already written for them. But I feel like for me and you, like, we don't know if or what or when.
Yeah, like, I have a career right now. I'm a web developer. I've been doing it for like 6 years. Or maybe 7 years now. But with the way that technology is changing so fast and more people can just make their own websites and stuff, like, in like another 7 years, I don't even know if my job's gonna exist anymore.
It'll be all robots. You don't have to worry.
So, but like, what am I gonna do? You know, it's like, I don't know. You know?
I feel like we talked about that once before, like the not knowing, like you can, like I experienced this recently, like I was getting like really anxious about something, like I had to do. Like most of the stuff I'm talking about, I don't remember because I have a horrible rememberer. I have a horrible rememberer. But it was like, because usually I try not to feel anxious. I try not to feel worried. I try not to feel like on edge about stuff.
Yeah.
But then there was something that I was feeling really nervous about. And it made me like want to back away and like run away from the entire situation. But then I was like, you know what? Like this is just like my brain and my body telling me that I actually care about this. And it's actually like making me feel like I need to get pumped up for it. Because it's that whole like flight or fight thing, you know? Like either, because I'm totally like backing out. I'm feeling anxious and I want to run away. But also I can be like, all right, this is like, I'm being invigorated by this feeling. Like I can take this as like a call to arms and be like, all right, let's go. I got this, like, even though it's anxious energy, like this can also be channeled into, let's take this energy. Yeah, excitement. Because it's like, you know, on that roller coaster feeling, like it's both the same thing. It's that thrill rush. Like you don't know. And it's like, even if like you're at your lowest point, like you can either be like, oh, I'm defeated. I don't know what my next step is. Or you can be like, all right, like I'm feeling really down but I have all this energy. I have all this time. Like, let me put it into something. Like, let's start somewhere, you know, let's do something. Like my possibilities are open. You know what I mean? Like, if you get broken up with or you lose your job or something, like you need to be like, oh man, this is the worst thing. Or you could be like, oh, now the world is open again. Because when you have a job or you have a girl or you have a guy or whatever, like you're boxed into that. You have to make that work for however well that you can make it work. But if you don't have something, it's be like, hey, now everything is open again. Like, sure, there's not certain things that you can't go and like become like a billionaire out of nowhere or go work in a company, but you can like totally change your life path. You know, like that's sort of how I started like this new road that I'm trying to go down. Like I was in a really bad place. I felt so trapped, and I sort of got out of that by going into myself and finding like what I'm interested in and putting my energy into that. You know? And slowly it's paying off. Slowly.
Yeah, it's just a scary feeling for sure.
It's totally scary.
It's terrifying.
Everything is scary. It's like that same thing. Like, you don't know. We think we're gonna die young anyway, so.
Yeah, but then it's like, if I live to be an old age, will I be poor on the streets? I don't fucking know.
I'll take care of you, John.
You might be dead too.
Yeah, I guess you got no luck then. But the truth is that nothing really matters.
Just
the
like
truth
Bohemian
is
Rhapsody.
that which is silent. The truth is. ... So if somebody asks you, what's the truth? You answer with ...
Alright.
I feel like that's a good end.
Alright.
How should we actually end this?
This has been NYC Geek Society.
NYC Geek Society.
Like, share, subscribe.
Podcast or whatever this is going to turn into.
Tell your mom, tell your dad, tell your dream sanctuary fallen angel people.
Tell your dog on the back cover of the book. Tell people to buy this book because cool.
That would be cool.
Also,
$15 I think right now on Amazon.com.
Also.
That's
a good end.